Then, with my eyes, I read some dreadful piffle by some old bat.
Why do I keep you around as my friend?
No, that's not true. I read 26 Degrees by my good friend Rebeccah Giltrow, who is with me in the studio.
Oh, hello!
Obviously,
Hello!
because, you know, she's there already, which is slightly annoying, but...
Yeah, I know, you can't get rid of me.
Can't get rid of her. So I'm going to interview her about her writing.
Oh, that should be interesting.
Yeah.
She's not terrified at
No,
all.
of course she's not, because she trusts me 100%.
Oh dear, just a tickle in my throat there. Just let me have a drink.
Okay, so I'm actually going to ask Rebeccah about her all her works and end up talking in detail about 26 Degrees.
Okie dokie.
So, looking backwards...
Oh, hang on a second.
Who are you talking to?
I'm talking to Rebeccah Giltrow.
It's so weird when you say my full name properly.
So, Becca, we were talking with Terry just now about lifelines. So it seems like a good place to pick up.
Right, okie dokie.
Talk to you about lifelines and poetry. So you were saying a little bit about that while we were talking to Terry, and you started with poetry. A lot of writers start with poetry in their teens, don't they?
Yes.
Tell me how you came to be a writer.
I don't... Well, it all kind of started with my dad. It's all my dad's fault. He's creative. He's an artist. Yes, my dad is an artist and a bit of a writer. He does writing-y bits and pieces just on the side. And when I was a child, we would sometimes read bedtime stories from books, and then other times we would make up our own bedtime stories.
Ooh, how exciting.
So we had Terry Tractor.
Brilliant.
Terry Tractor, he lived in... My house is opposite a field, so Terry Tractor lived on the field and he had his friends. And in my mind, he was a real boy, but he was also a tractor at the same time. As a child, there was no kind of distinction.
Yes, you can have those dualities without getting too hung up on it.
Yeah, and I know a lot of stories which I feel so sad for my dad now were set at my school, and they would just be about what I got up to at school that day. So my dad would have to make up something fun about what I'd done at school. There was, I can't remember her name, there was a witch. I'm going to say it was Mildred the witch. She wasn't very good at making spells, and she always turned everything into worms. They were wiggly worms, and I always got a tickle at wiggly worms. Egbert the elf, who worked in a toy shop as well. So we kind of, at bedtime, wrote stories together, and I think that kind of sparked the kind of creativity. I'd always done little bits with him. We'd always done collages and painting and drawing, but writing stories or creating things in my brain box was something that I just felt was more natural to write things down. Words have always been my thing, and so that kind of sparked it off. And I think the poetry came with the awful teen angst that we all go through. My life is terrible, I want to die, blah blah blah.
Most teenagers get rid of some of their angst with dreadful poetry.
So I would say 99% of my teenage poetry should never ever be seen by any other human eye, not even mine, because it's so embarrassing. But I did write a few fairly decent ones, and a couple of them are actually in Lifelines. That actually I think stand out and are of a fairly decent calibre. But yeah, most of it was just, oh, my life is rubbish, oh, I wish I was dead, I hate everyone, blah, blah, blah. And but then it's a cathartic way of kind of letting out your emotions, and the teen years are horrible. Yeah, they're horrible. You don't know what you're doing, where you're going, or you know who you're supposed to be. There's too many choices. You've got exams, you've got peer pressure, you've got school, you've got teachers, you've got parents nagging. It's all hormones and puberty and everything. So I think that's a safe way of releasing all the pent-up aggression and pressure, whereas some kind of take it to the extreme with self-harm and that kind of thing, which is very sad, and I'm not trying to belittle that in any way, but I think the writing of the poetry was my way of the release.
Achieves the same sort of thing.
That's...
Okay, so then you popped off to university.
I did.
And did a degree in English.
I did.
And then how did you come to then follow that with a master's in creative writing?
Well, Jane, my degree was English Language and Literature, and I did half of my modules were literature and half of my modules were linguistics. And one of the modules that I did in my final year was called Hearing and Writing Lyrics and Poems, and it was a creative writing module. And I chose that one over just the basic creative writing module because I still wasn't comfortable with stories. I was still writing poetry. Stories weren't really my main focus. So the lyrics and poems class was something that I just found, I wouldn't say easier, but I felt more comfortable, and you know, it just, you like your little comfort blankets.
Absolutely.
And without kind of sounding like a big fat pile of arrogant, I found I was really, really good, and people really, really enjoyed what I was writing, and I was getting brilliant feedback from the other people in my class. And we put on a performance at the theatre at university, and loads of lecturers came along, loads of the tutors from the English department, and it was just absolutely brilliant, and so many people enjoyed it. And I kind of thought, well, actually, this is something that I can get my teeth into. And I always saw university as a place to go and do something that you enjoy, rather than something that would progress your career opportunities. I mean, obviously, if you really enjoy economics or business studies, then that's great, because you're doing it to enjoy it. But I wouldn't study business studies just on the hope that I would get a good job out of it. I wanted to go away to actually enjoy the experience of being away at university and enjoy what I was studying. And after doing the creative writing module in my third year of my first degree, I just thought, yes, I have to learn more about this. And so yeah, I took a year out to make a little bit of money, and then went back the following year to do creative writing for my masters.
Splendid. And in fact, this leads us nicely into 26 degrees. So we will come back
Okay.
to Lillian Hudson, Christina Rose, and
Lexa.
later, I think, maybe, if we have time.
Okay.
So, tell me how don't tell me, because I know. Tell our lovely listener how 26 degrees came about.
Okay, 26 degrees. Okay, I find it really difficult to explain this. When I was doing my masters, one of my modules was about Oulipo, and people look at me like I'm having a seizure whenever I say that word. It's a group, basically it's a group of French poets and authors who got together and formed a little exclusive group to write poetry that was kind of experimental, where you put on constraints and almost forced yourself into writing something extremely structured, but then it also gave you a bit more freedom with what you did. And one of my tutors, lecturers, Phil Terry, is an expert in Oulipo, and it is just looking at really peculiar ways of writing, but making it still coherent and solid. And 26 Degrees is 26 short stories, and they're all lipograms, and a lipogram is a text which omits one letter of the alphabet. So, for example, if you wanted to write about a table, but you'd decided not to use the letter T, you'd have to describe it as a desk or a bench or something like that, another word that doesn't include that letter. So each of the 26 stories omits one of the 26 letters of the alphabet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, it makes
perfect sense to you, because I've explained it to you 100 times. But yes, that's what that is. And my lecturer, Phil Terry, he wrote a book called, is it the Book of Bachelors or the Song of Bachelors? I can't remember what it's called, but that's a collection of short story lipograms. And then I just got super inspired by that, and it is in the back of my book, isn't it, Jane? Yes. I think it's called the Book of Bachelors. Anyway, I think there's seven short stories in that, and I just thought Book of Bachelors, yeah. Absolutely brilliant, really enjoyable, and when you read them, you don't realise there's a letter missing, which I think then makes it more enjoyable, because you're not kind of conscious that these letters are missing. You have to make it flow and everything, which is quite difficult.
But he only writes 9, so he gets to choose, doesn't he?
Oh, no, 9. Or, yeah,
sorry,
it was 7. I said 7, it was 9.
It's 9.
Yeah.
And so he gets to pick and choose which letters he leaves out. And obviously there are some letters that are easier to write,
yes.
to eliminate from your Lexus. And there are some which are really, really hard. So I was fascinated to read 26 Degrees. Because I thought, okay, how do you write an entire story without using something like, for example, an E?
That was the worst story of, not worst as in the content, although it's quite horrific content, but it's so difficult because you don't realise how often you use the letter E, and my thesaurus is so dog-eared because I was just, every time I thought of a word, you subconsciously, you don't even notice. So you write a word, it's like, oh brilliant, oh no, that's the word tree, you can't use that, you know, it just, just so stupidly, and that's why I think computers are brilliant, because you can do a check to see if you've included these letters, which is absolutely brilliant. But yeah, trying to write something, even the other vowels, some of them are easier than others.
T, I would think, would be really quite hard as well.
Yeah, you have
some
to...
of the stories, it's not obvious until you sort of get a couple of pages in, and then think, oh, that's a strange use of word.
Yeah.
And then I think, yeah, she's chosen that because she can't use the obvious choice.
Yeah.
Because it's got whatever letter is missing, and obviously because I'm me, I went through before I started.
Yes, it's like a puzzle.
And figured out which letter was missing. My aim was to try and do it within the first page maximum of each story and figure out which letter was missing.
Yeah.
But I was absolutely blown away by how you managed to do each story with missing a letter. The mental gymnastics involved in that is quite phenomenal, and keep the stories coherent and making sense and telling a story.
Yeah.
You know, they are great stories.
Oh, thank you. Yes.
There are some, as you know, because we've talked about this, that would be better, could be improved upon without that constraint.
Yeah.
But I mean, what an amazing thing to have achieved.
Yeah.
It is quite.
Thank you, Jane.
Quite amazing.
Are you feeling all right? You've given me a compliment. Are you okay?
But, you know,
Yeah.
don't expect it. You know.
Oh, all right then. Yes, but I thoroughly enjoyed doing it, and it was the one thing I still enjoy doing bits and pieces with the Oulipo, and there's so many different constraints that you can use. But yeah, I just found it unbelievably exciting.
So, and the other thing, of course, is each going on the idea of 6 degrees of separation. The 26 stories sort of link with each other. They form a chain.
Yeah.
In that each one mentions a character from one of the others, and that may be that they've just sat next to each other on the bus, or they may be related to one of the other characters, or in a relationship with them. Yeah. That's fascinating as well.
Well, I just think it's amazing because it just made me laugh when years ago, it was absolutely ages ago, my cousin was dating Cliff Richard's cousin. So I was like 3 steps away or 2 steps away from Cliff Richard just through
random.
If you kind of think, well, who do I know? And you might be talking to somebody, you go, oh, do you know so-and-so? Oh, I know so-and-so. I used to go to school with them. And then there's a whole connection and network of people that you don't know, and how far away. And apparently you're supposed to be, 6 steps away from the Queen or something like that. You're supposed to be 6 steps away from a celebrity.
I'm 3 steps away from J.K. Rowling. I just suddenly calculated in my head.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah. See, if you know one person who knows one person who knows one person who knows them, because everybody's going to know people, and I just think the point of this story, because they're characters, every story is a different character, is who are you sitting next to on the bus, or who are you standing behind in the supermarket queue that you might know the same people, and it's such a tight-knit world, even though there's bazillions of people. So yeah, it's just
So who's your favourite character from 26 Degrees?
Maxwell.
Right. And which one was your favourite to write, which is not necessarily the same thing?
One of my favourites to write was Maxwell. He's such a brilliant character. I couldn't use the letter D, so he couldn't speak in the past tense. So I kind of gave him some sort of autism, Asperger's type thing. So that was part of his speech. The fact that even when he was talking about things that happened in the past, he talked about it in the present tense because he couldn't use the letter D. I think the one that probably is my most favourite, because it is fact, and I can't remember the name of the character.
Tell me what it was.
It's Melanie, the very first one. The first one, Melanie. She works in a supermarket, and Sadsco, yes, she works in Sadsco, and their uniform is a pink kimono. And
I'm going to read a bit.
Okay. Well, Melanie is 99% fact. I used to work at Asda, my mum used to work at Morrison's, and combined, these are stories that both myself and my mother have experienced, because people are stupid, and people that shop in supermarkets are stupid, and both my mother and I came up against just some really idiotic people that you just wanted to ram a trolley into. So I think that was my favourite, because it meant that I could kind of get out all of that aggression and anger and frustration with...
Which of course is one of the best things about writing, not just as when you're suffering from teenage angst, but forever, is that it's a great outlet for the things that annoy you about life. Come down in paper, especially if you write crime, because you can take those people who annoy you and...
Well, I've done a little bit of that in this, haven't I? A little bit of nastiness.
Okay, so that brings me to my next question, which is your least favourite character?
Ooh, my least favourite character. This is difficult. I didn't like Shane, but I did like writing Shane.
Right.
Shane's a bit of a bully. He's a nasty, racist, horrible person. But I enjoyed kind of looking at things from the perspective of that type of person, because it's something completely opposite from how I would speak, how I would behave. But I think he's a nasty, nasty piece of work, and I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him. But I enjoy writing from the darker side, and I enjoy writing characters that are not me at all. So
yes, and there's some very dark stuff that goes on.
there is.
It's very dark, in fact.
Yes.
No subject is too grim, gruesome,
Yes.
or taboo.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much everything.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. A few people have commented on the dark nature of this, but I'm also one of these people that doesn't like censorship, and I don't like people hiding away from the bad things that go on in the world. And I know recently we've been turning on the news, and it's just been misery after misery after misery. But bad things happen, and we need to recognise it. And a lot of the stuff that I've written about, it may seem like fiction, but it has been inspired by partial real life events, or taken from things that I've seen on the news or read online or whatever. So nothing in there is 100% imagined. It all comes from something.
Which is
frightening.
Even more frightening.
Yeah.
I mean, to answer my own questions, I like Maxwell as well. I also liked Oliver quite a lot.
Oh, okay.
I don't like Shane at all. Martin, I don't like much.
No, my mum didn't like Martin.
Which was the most difficult to write?
E. Whoever E is, I can't remember. E is just horrible. I think T was horrible. U was horrible. No. Yes, U. Because you can't have a Q without a U. So I had to kind of...
Yeah, and you can't... I mean, the word U is quite...
Yeah.
Crops up more often. I imagine F is actually not...
To be honest, most of them were fairly... It was the most difficult one, and I'm not overly happy with that story because of that, because it's a letter that we use so often. But, yeah...
I was quite impressed with the E story. I'm trying to find it.
I can't even remember the name of the characters. It's such a long time ago that I wrote it.
There's quite... Yeah. E is quite easy to find by the first page, because of course there it is used so often.
Yeah.
How about we break for some music?
Okie dokie.
And I find the E story, and then we carry on having a wee chat after that.
Okie dokie.
Right, so back with Rebeccah Giltrow.
Oh, hello.
Local author and author of 26 Degrees, which we've been talking about. Okay, so I'm going to read the very first bit. I'm going to read the very beginning of the very first story, which is Melanie. So this is your favourite story. It doesn't actually... we don't actually get as far as the supermarket.
No.
I just love the fact the supermarket is called Sadsko.
Yeah. Well, it's like a little bit of Sainsbury's, Asda, Tesco, all rolled into one. Yeah.
So, so Melanie. How was my day? Well, I'll tell you how my day was. You couldn't make us a cup of tea first, though, could you? Thanks, love. It's been a right day today. Had all sorts in. You'd think the whole world was coming to an end just because it's the bank holiday. The supermarket is closed for one day, and people were packing their trolleys to the ceiling as if it was Armageddon or something. I mean, seriously, what on earth are you going to need so desperately you can't wait one day for anyway? People were stocking up on fish fingers and dry roasted peanuts like they were going out of fashion, and we're opening early on Tuesday anyway. Oh, thanks, love. You couldn't guess a couple of bickies as well, could you? Thanks, love. So it all started off with me getting a phone call this morning, just after you'd gone to work, asking if I can go in early. Well, I just sat myself down in front of Paolo Romero. You know Paolo Romero. He's that new chat show host on UK Chat Show TV. He's a smart man, always has the right answers, and can manage to make anyone cry with a glance. His qualifications in sarcasm, irony and downright rudeness, but he's hilarious. Tells it like it is. I wish I could be that ballsy. today's show is called You're Not My Father, Father, or Are You? And was about these well-to-do priests who'd been poking their chocolate fingers, no thanks love, noses into these prostitutes, custard creams, no thanks love, lives, preaching, helping them to open up their party rings. What am I, 7 years old? Have we got any normal biscuits? Minds to other forms of satisfaction that didn't involve sleeping with strangers for a couple of quid a go. They showed this video of this priest in a whorehouse. He paid all this money to go and spend time with this one girl. In the video, he's standing over with his hand on her donuts. No, thanks, love. I'm not that hungry. Just a couple of digestives to dunk in my tea will be fine. Anyway, that made me chuckle when I.
It makes me chuckle listening to it. It's weird to hear somebody else reading it, but.
So yes, so a lot of them are written in that sort of style of monologue.
Yeah.
Which is great. And I'm very excited at some point to extract some of them, and I want to turn it into, as you know, something that we take to the Edinburgh Festival.
Which I would be very, very pleased with.
So that's really quite exciting.
Yes.
So we are kind of running out of time on this show, which is a little bit scary. So I've got one last question. We're not going to talk today about Lexa and Lillian Hudson and Krista May Rose. Because obviously you're here all the time, so
yes.
I'll probably get to
and
talk
I mean,
about those another
in
day.
December, one of the books is to read a Christmas book, so you could read 12 Days of Krista May Rose and talk to me about it then.
Well, I've actually read it, haven't I?
Yeah, all right.
And in the last Christmas show, which was our first ever show, I was going to read.
You were actually, yes.
But we ran out of time.
We did.
It was a bit scary. And
yes.
So this year, that's a definite.
Yes.
So I have one last question for you.
Okie dokie.
Which is...
Oh, no. Can I just... let the listeners know, Jane's sitting there, she's nursing a cup of tea, and she's smiling innocently, and then she said, I've just got one more question, and her smile turned rather sinister. I would just like you all to know this before I answer this question. Sorry, Jane, carry on.
Okay, so the question is this. Becca, you are a very talented writer, and you have published five books?
Something like that, yes.
Yeah, one of them co-written with Terry. But they're all self-published.
Yes.
Could you please tell me why you're not traditionally published, and what are you going to do about it?
So, Jane, the reason I am not traditionally published is I did send some things off to agents and publishers, but I think my general fear meant that I didn't do it very well. And it's very frightening. And Jane's sitting here with a smuggerson grin on her face because Jane went to a thing ages ago which was called...
At the Winchester
Writers' Conference, and she took along her manuscript and met with some agency type people who gave her feedback and criticism, and from there she found somebody who was interested in dealing with her and her work, and Jane has got hold of my arm, twisted it right around my back, and will be forcing me to go to Winchester with her next year once I have finished my current manuscript, which is called 7 Deadly Virtues, and we are working on that at the moment as a little group, editing and writing and that kind of thing. So hopefully by then that will be finished and you will have lowered your gun, taken off the handcuffs and mouth gag, let me get into the car on my own and driven me to Winchester. So yes, I would like to be traditionally published. It's just one of those extremely frightening things, and I know I'm not doing it right. I know I'm not approaching agents in the right way. I know my cover letter and my synopsis aren't the right thing, and I know that I need work, but I'm also very frightened. Jane, stop being a bully pants.
I am very mean. I wanted to get Becca to commit.
Oh yeah, it's now
in front of the lovely listeners.
Yeah.
To go to Winchester next year.
Yes.
Because it's very difficult to get traditionally published, but once you know a little bit more about the publishing world and you take a step into meeting some of the people and talking to them, then it becomes, and I think you've already found that with going to some of the writers' festivals, literary festivals that we've been to, that the more you know about writers and the writing world, it becomes slightly less scary.
Yes.
When you're just a person sitting on your own in your room typing away, and it's you and then this whole publishing business somewhere remote, and
it's not a real tangible object, is it? You email off your manuscript or you post it off and then you get a rejection back and it's just like, oh okay, right, there we go, and then you move on and It's not a real thing.
No, it's not.
But to actually sit face to face and talk to people, even if they don't like what you've written, at least
it's a learning. It's a learning experience, and you're finding out what they're looking for. So. Yeah. Cool.
Yes.
So thank you very much, Rebeccah Giltrow. It's been fascinating.
Thank you, Jane
talking
Martin.
to you.
I'm very pleased to have come along and spoken to you today. It's very nice to have met you.